AITA for telling my aunt and uncle they had no right to start a family argument at my wedding? I got married 3 weeks ago and my day ended up spoiled by my family when an argument erupted during the reception that led to 4 people being kicked out, leaving, and a whole bunch of family drama aired for everyone to hear. BG, for those who will ask what it was about. I have 2 uncles and 1 aunt on my mom's side. My mom's oldest brother is Liam and he had widowed for almost 25 years now. She was sick briefly and passed quickly and left him and their son, my cousin Ben, behind. Ben is 32 and lost his mom when he was only 7. At some point a year or 2 after Liam's wife passed away, Ben had mentioned maybe dating again to his siblings and then a few weeks later had told them he changed his mind, and when asked, he said Ben didn't want him to date and replace his mom and he didn't want to upset his son or force a new person on him if he wanted things to stay the same. He said it would be more trouble than it was worth. Exact quote as told to me by Mom a couple of years ago. My aunt and other uncle were furious that Ben would say that to Liam and that Liam would swear off dating for a child. But Liam insisted he was fine. Liam has never been single date or had any kind of romantic relationship with anyone since his wife died. There are 8 times he seems lonely, but he and Ben are very close and he spends time with his grandkids a lot. So apparently my aunt and other uncle never ever got over the fact Ben never gave his dad permission to date and the fact he knows Liam hasn't dated and still doesn't encourage it. This all bubbled over at my wedding. I had no idea anger was still so strong. But while Ben and his wife were dancing, and Liam was dancing with his grandkids, my aunt and other uncle went over to confront Ben and started yelling and calling him selfish. In the space of about 20 minutes everyone in attendance knew an 8-9-year-old Ben had asked his dad not to date and that Liam listened and had never dated since his wife died. Security had to step in. Ben, his wife, their kids and Liam all left and my aunt and uncle were kicked out. I was angry. The whole thing caused such a disruption and shifted the whole focus away from the party. I called my aunt a few days later and told her she needed to apologize and she said she couldn't believe I would ask for one and wasn't on their side. Then 3 days ago I saw her and my uncle and told them they had no right to start an argument at my wedding and should be ashamed of themselves. They said I should care enough about Liam to stand by them and be willing to let my wedding take the place of when it would happen. AITA?
AITA for not going out to drive my husband home when he got too drunk? This happened several days ago and he's still put out over it, so I don't know how to feel. My husband went out with a few friends of his friends, which he does just fine all the time. It was late, and I worked the next day, so I lay down. At almost 11, I get woken up by a call from him, totally smashed. After about 5 minutes rambling, he says his friends left him somewhere and he needed a ride home. He was barely coherent and couldn't even tell me where he was, and I was tired and pissed off, so I told him he needed to find his friends and figure it out and I went back to sleep. I don't know when he ended up getting home. He was asleep on the couch when I left. Since then he's been short and distant, obviously still upset over it. He didn't tell me about what happened and has slept in the living room since. Gets testy if I even ask. Maybe it was mean not to go get him. But he's an adult and it shouldn't be my responsibility if he gets too drunk and wanders off somewhere. I want to mention his friends were driving, so I'm forcing him to drive home drunk. I figured if he'd really been in trouble, he'd have mentioned it or called back. I didn't think it was that big of a deal, but almost a week later he's still upset. Amy wrong?
AITA for telling my dad he and his wife need to look at themselves for the reason her son is struggling? My dad has me, 16M, and my brother, 11M, and our mom died 8 years ago. Dad met Chantel 6 years ago and they got married 2 years ago. Her son is 10. My brother and I have known Chantel and her son for almost 4 years now, but not 4 years yet. Chantel's son Kyle is an only child, has no dad, no extended family, and he latched onto me fiercely when we met. It was frustrating how he'd insert himself into stuff with my brother. He'd invite himself along. He would try to touch me and hold on to me and my dad, and Chantel told me to allow it and hew him when I'd tell them it made me uncomfortable and annoyed me. Eventually I started to stop him and tell him not to touch me and not to cling to me. Dad and Chantel realized the 3 of us hadn't bonded the way they wanted us to, for Kyle, so they insisted on leaving me with both him and my brother and having me babysit them while they left the house. This was during the day and night. Dad would also set up times where I had to take them to the park. So I should bring up my brother and I are close, like super close. We lost our mom, all 4 grandparents and our only uncle, we have aunts, in the space of like 3 years. Losing them made us closer. I was always an affectionate big brother. My mom used to say that. And our relationship is so easy and natural that we hug, or I'll ruffle his hair, or he'll sit on me sometimes if he wants something. None of it is forced, and it just kind of happens. Kyle saw a lot of that during the forced babysitting, the forced park trips, etc. And he never got to hang all over me or be my shadow like he wanted, and I'm not affectionate with him, and it's caused him to have trouble dealing with stuff. Chantel was concerned, and so he went to therapy for that. He admitted to being jealous and that he hates my brother. But he also wants me all to himself. He's still in therapy, but he told Sean that he's never going to be happy not being my brother. Chantel and Dad blamed it all on me. They said he had a responsibility to Kyle to be a good brother to him, and that it was my job as the oldest to look out for him and make sure I was loving him the same as I love my brother. My dad has brought it up a couple of times on his own as well, and the last time I told him that he and Chantel should look at themselves, because they knew Kyle was seriously clingy with me, and they sent him out with me and my brother knowing we're close and have an affectionate relationship, and did nothing to make sure he'd be okay. He told me I should have put my own feelings aside and done what Kyle needed me to. Chantel was like, how dare I blame them, and called me evil for blaming them when I have destroyed her son. AITA? Update. AITA for choosing my senior cat over my sister and potentially allowing her to become homeless. Original post. Thank you so much to all of you who have wished Tom good luck on his surgery. I'm ecstatic to let you know all went well. I was a bit cautious on providing an update, as I wanted to make sure he isn't doing better before celebrating. On the weekend leading to the big day, I bought him his favorite food, these tiny fish that in my country are generally eaten whole, fried, anchovies, that he loves to gobble up raw. I only ever give those as a treat maybe a few times a year, since they're not exactly healthy for cats, but I made an exception since, things could have gone terribly bad. The operation went great. Vet said there were no complications. I got him home in the afternoon, and he slept it off until midnight, when he started asking for food. He's been eating like he's trying to make up for the weight loss he suffered. He's also been more alert these days, started following me around again and begging for food, and it looks like he's sleeping better, too. He would generally just lay awake on his cat bed all day, looking unhappy. Now he's sleeping soundly between meals. The only discomfort he has is related to the stitches on his gums, but they should fall off in a few weeks. Honestly, it's like they didn't remove only his teeth, but also chipped off a few years. I'd also like to thank all of you that called me out on using him as an excuse. You're right, I was using him as an excuse. No has never been a full sentence for me, so I am now actively looking into finding a good therapist. I still stand by my decision of not helping my sister out though, and many numbers and social media accounts have been blocked. I'm thinking about leaving this account active and add a final update in a week, or a month or a year, or whenever it's time to bid Tom farewell. But for now, he seems happy, so I've no doubt I made the right choice. 1 comment share save.
AITA for what I said to my sister after she insinuated I should sell a car and give her money. I am 48 years old, married but child-free by choice. It's something my wife and I agreed on early in our relationship. We both have pretty good jobs and are able to afford many expensive items and activities. I attribute this to our jobs obviously, but also the fact that we are child-free and live in a one-bedroom apartment. I own a manufacturing plant that was given to me from my father. On that property, I store 4 classic cars that I have bought, restored. I have always been a car guy. I plan to buy another car in the next year or two. I have one sister who is younger than me and never made the best decisions in life. She has a boyfriend who she lives with after getting divorced twice. She's also in her early 40s. She has 2 who already seem smarter than their mom. She moccasin okay living, but she's the breadwinner. Her BF that she lives with spends most of his time stoned and playing Xbox. He's always looking for a new job, or blaming the capitalist system for him not having a job. Her daughter, 10, is a very good singer. I don't have an ear for talent, but to me she is very good. My sister has wanted to enroll her in lessons with a private coach but cannot afford it. She has asked me to help her out since she is embarrassed to ask her parents. She also does not speak to the father of her daughter. I declined politely until she made a comment about my money and cars. Just another, must be nice, comment I'm all too sick of hearing. Here is where I made my *SS whole comment. I said, Maybe if your boyfriend can put down the dope for all of 10 minutes, he can help you out. And, I have 5 cars, I'll buy another 5 before I give you a dime. I said her daughter isn't my responsibility. She's got a mother and a father, and if they can't figure it out, it doesn't fall on my shoulders. My sister called my wife and told her how mean I was to her. My wife now wants us to give the money, but I don't want to. Sure, we can afford it, but I'm not my sister's welfare. Last bit. I'm sure some of you will make a comment about how I refer to her daughter or my niece. They live in another state and have for the entirety of her life. I don't see me sister or her kids much at all. I don't really know her kids too well. I send them birthday, Christmas gifts, but I'm not close with them. Edit. This is coming up a lot in comments. My sister could have had a stake in the business, but she didn't want to work there. I've worked for my dad all my life and learned the business. She never did. She knew she wouldn't be getting anything with it, and she was okay with that. Edit. I have given financial support to her before.